Well, hello, reader friends, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you are new here. My name is Lori Beth, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where we get into all of the bookish small talk. Long time no talk, my friends, and I am very excited to be back recording. And as you can see, things are a little bit lighter around here these days. New hair, who dis? I can't tell you the last time I had my hair this short, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm really digging the vibe. It's given me like a whole new fresh take on things to go into this new summer season. So because I had to take a week off last week, we are gonna do my May reading wrap up. So all of the books that I read in the month of May, because I refuse to get as far behind as I started the year off in just like a state of constant trying to catch up on these wrap-ups. I don't know why it is so hard for me to just sit down and talk about all of the books I read in the previous month, but we are not going to play that game this year anymore. But before we jump into that, I am going to open on camera with you guys my latest Novelwicks rep package, because this video is proudly partnered with Novelwicks Candles, the company that you have heard me talk about time and time again, but one of my favorite small businesses to support. And we're going to see what Murphy sent in this month's rep package. So without further ado, we're gonna open this bad boy together on camera. I'm bringing back the sharp scissors right on camera. I don't know if that's the best idea. I never really think that it is, but you know, YOLO. All right, let's crack into this bad boy. Oh boy. All right, let's see if that did the trick. Gotta get some leverage. Alrighty. So per usual, we have a little flyer right at the top of the box that are important dates to know. So for June, launches at noon Central on Fridays. On the 6th, there were quotes. On the 13th, genres and bookish basics. The 20th, new romance. And the 27th, Disney princesses and Taylor Swift, which every time she does a Taylor Swift drop, I just cannot help myself, and I am buying those candles every single time. I mean, it's getting out of control at this point. But a couple of cute candles on this flyer as well. Planning my monthly TBR, which is a limoncello cream candle. Pirate Booty, which is rainwater, and then the person, be it gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. Northanger Abbey. That is a white sage and citrus candle. Oof, every single one of those sounds absolutely delicious, per usual. I've never actually been disappointed in a scent from one of her candles. Not even making that up. But let's see what our rep package entails. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful graphic. Small town setting, watery melon and wet sand. Oh my gosh, does that sound absolutely divine for the summertime? Look at the graphic on this candle. Per usual, I'm gonna crack it open. Oh my. This will be on repeat upstairs for sure, probably in my office. This is absolutely to die for. Look at that beautiful hand-poured candle with the wood wick. One of my favorite elements. I actually have one burning right behind me, and I love, one of my favorite things that I love about these candles is that you can hear them when they're burning. It creates such a nice ambiance. It's honestly one of my favorite things. All right, we've got one more in here. Ooh, this is a big boy. Stop scrolling and read down your TBR, Pink Sands. I feel like this is speaking to me. Get a load at the graphics on this one. We love a book. We love a book on something. Let's go ahead and... Oh my gosh. Oh, that's delicious. It smells kind of sweet, but also kind of beachy at the same time. Oh, love, love. That's also kind of like a really beautiful opal color. And of course, the wood wick as well. Never disappointed in these Novelwicks candles, and because I am a partner with Novelwicks and she is partnering with me on this video, you can use my code LORI10 at that website linked down below to get a discount for anything she has for sale in the shop. And once you pick out a candle for yourself, come on back to this video and drop in a comment down below which one that you chose. All right, I'm honestly very excited about those. Those are very, very beautiful summer scents. I can't wait to start burning those. throughout my home. But without further ado, we are going to go ahead and jump into all of the books that I read in the month of May. All right, so for a quick recap, I read 5 books in total for the month of May, and they were honestly pretty highly rated. I feel like this was the highest rated month I've had so far this year. But I kicked the month off by reading An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, and this was part of my Quick to Judge challenge. This was the book that I picked for that. That was the one I was tagged in by my friend Chelsea. And this was honestly really fun. I really enjoyed it. I kind of don't know why I waited so long to read this. I almost feel like it's one of those series that I've been keeping on the back burner for those times of need, like when I'm really craving something specifically like a fantasy, but I don't have the bandwidth to find like the perfect book. I know that there's some series out there that I haven't started that I kind of keep around for that reason. So let's read the synopsis together so I can give you a better idea of what this book and then this series is kind of about. Under the Ma Tile Empire, defiance is met with death. Laya and her family do not challenge the empire. They've seen what happens to those who do. But when Laya's brother is arrested for treason, she is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the empire's greatest military academy. There, Laya meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly, its most unwilling. He and Laya will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the empire itself. So kind of a classic fantasy series with an enemies to lovers element and also some political intrigue. I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I really liked it. It was definitely a little more of a YA fantasy than an adult fantasy, which I knew going in. But I thought that the writing was very fluid and very easy to read. It was a story that you could easily sink into, which I also appreciate about a YA fantasy versus sometimes an adult fantasy being a little complex and there's like so much information thrown at you right in the beginning, like in the first few chapters that you've ever felt like you need like a guide or something to kind of keep track of names or houses or political parties and stuff like that. This felt very easy to fall into, so I appreciated it. It was very much a slow burn, so I don't think it really hit that 5-star mark for me because I think I was, at least at the time, kind of craving more of a romantasy, like a romantasy forward fantasy. And this is much more on the slow burn side. Again, probably because it's a YA novel. But if you like more fantasy forward books with a little touch of romance in it, I think this is a great series to get into, which leads me to my second book of the month, which was A Torch Against the Night, the second book in this series. I kind of wanted to just keep the ball rolling with this because I also have a habit of starting a series sometimes. And then when I enjoy it, this is the funny part. It's when I enjoy it that I start spreading it out because I don't want it to end. And I could feel that I was liking this and liking where it was going, but I also don't want to forget what I'm reading. So the second book I also rated 4 stars. It kind of picked back up where the first one left off and at least gave a different vibe because there were some relationships already established. I do sometimes find that the first book in a series is not always my favorite, and I think it's because you need time to build all of those things, the character development individually, and then the relationships on top of that. But I liked that in the second book, it got a little grittier, a little darker, and also introduced another POV, which can be that can go either way sometimes. If you have too many POVs happening in a story, it almost feels hard to keep track of or disjointed at times. But I think that Sabaa Tahir did it beautifully. So the series itself is a little dark. Gritty is the word that keeps coming to mind. I would say nothing too intense, nothing too grotesque, if you will. But I also liked that vibe coming from the book. I think that kind of elevated the YA level for me. Even though it was still kind of very slow burn, the fact that the writing was a little darker and a little more intense made it feel less young adult and more adult as the story went on. So I am really enjoying the series so far. 4 stars for the first 2 books. I would like to continue, hopefully this month, with book number 3. But I also don't want it to end. And I think there's another book coming out for this series, so I might kind of actually like space it out with intention, if you will. But yeah, I would love to know your guys' thoughts. Have you read this series? Is this one that stands out to you? Because I really like it so far. And you don't have to give me any spoilers or anything, but you can leave a comment down below about, if the series continues to get good, if you like it as it goes on, or some spoiler-free thoughts. And from there, I read We Who Have No Gods by Liza Anderson. This was actually an ARC that I received, so thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for the advanced copy of this novel. And this one was... I had a hard time putting this one down. This was really hitting the spot for me. I'm going to read the synopsis so that I don't mess anything up. In a world of witches, a human woman must hunt or be hunted in this explosive, gothic, dark academia fantasy filled with war-bent rivals, guarded secrets, and simmering chemistry. Vic Wood knows her priorities: scrape by on her restaurant wages, take care of her younger brother Henry, and forget their mother ever existed. But Vic's careful life crumbles when Henry reveals that their long-missing mother belonged to the Acheron Order, a secret society of witches tasked with keeping the dead at bay. What's worse, Henry inherited their mother's magical abilities while Vic did not, and Henry has been chosen as the Order's newest recruit. Determined to keep him safe, Vic accompanies Henry to the isolated woods in upstate New York that plays host to the sprawling and eerie Avalon Castle. When she joins the academy despite lacking powers of her own, she risks not only the Order's wrath, but also her brother's. And then there is Zan, the head sentinel, imposing, ruthless, and frustrating, in charge of protecting Avalon. He makes no secret that he wants Vic to leave. As she makes both enemies and allies in this mysterious realm, Vic becomes caught between the dark forces at play, with her mother at the heart of it all. What's stranger is that Vic begins to be affected by the Academy and Zan in ways she can't quite understand. But with war between witches threatening the fabric of reality, Vic must decide whether to risk her heart and life for a world where power is everything. Sorry, that was quite a novel of a synopsis, but I wanted you to get like the full picture of this book. So it had so many elements that I just die for in a novel, which is more of that political intrigue because there's almost like different groups or classes. I don't know, classes isn't the right word, but there's like a separation between different witches in this realm. Not only that, this all takes place at a castle in upstate New York. So it gives off that like delicious, dark academia vibe. And I love that kind of family dynamic that is the basis of a story. Vic is basically in charge of her brother. Their mother perished when they were young, and it was up to her to make sure her brother was safe and protected. She took that upon herself, and she knew that her brother had these special abilities or powers that her mother carried. She didn't know too much detail about them, but she knew that at one point in his life, someone could maybe come for him because of the powers that he had. And that does happen. So she kind of gets tangled up in this entire world. She refuses to leave his side, and she ends up like smack dab in the middle of this castle in the middle of the woods where she's now thrown into this world of like witches and fighting dark forces, basically. From what I understand, this is a debut novel by this author. If it's not, I apologize, and I should probably clarify that. But oh man, I thought this was just beautifully written. So gripping. All of those elements kind of just played so well with each other. Again, that dynamic of kind of like an older sibling, a big sister in this case, just ruthlessly protecting her family because it's all she has left, but also kind of making her way in the world. She's very much struggling with her identity and where she belongs if she doesn't have her brother. And she's kind of learning that he needs to stand on his own 2 feet. And if he does that, then what point does she have in life? It was kind of just like a beautiful meld of characters finding themselves, but also coming together to fight these dark gothic forces. So it was just vibes. It was such good vibes. And of course, a delicious enemies to lovers, I guess you could say, romance, but it was definitely more of that romance that I was kind of craving, and oof, that did not disappoint. So if you can get your hands on this, I highly recommend it. If not, it comes out January 27th, 2026, so right in the beginning of the new year, but you should have this one on your radar. I rated this 4.5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that, but oh man, it was good. It was really good. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a series, and now I just have to wait forever for the second book. All right, after that, I read The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden, and I rated this 4.5 stars. Let me just say that right off the bat, because I feel like I'm terrible at actually mentioning what I rated the books, but this was just beautiful. I actually wrote poignant and gripping. My pulse was racing during most of this story. It's not so much as a coming of age story, but a book about acceptance and forgiveness and understanding. So, so lovely. So this was part of Leah's May book club, and once I read the synopsis of it, I was absolutely sold. I was like, this sounds right up my alley, and kind of a nice break after reading 3 fantasy books like back to back to back. This was kind of like a breath of fresh air because it is a literary fiction novel. But this is described as a razor-sharp, perfectly plotted tale of desire, suspicion, and obsession between 2 women staying in the same house in the Dutch countryside during the summer of 1961. A powerful exploration of the legacy of World War II and the darker parts of our collective past. A house is a precious thing. It's 1961 and the rural Dutch province is quiet. Bomb craters have been filled, buildings reconstructed, and the war is truly over. Living alone in her late mother's country home, Isabel knows her life is as it should be, led by routine and discipline. But all is upended when her brother Louis brings his graceless new girlfriend Eva, leaving her at Isabel's doorstep as a guest to stay for the season. Eva is Isabel's antithesis. She sleeps late, walks loudly through the house, and touches things she shouldn't. In response, Isabel develops a fury-fueled obsession, and when things start disappearing around the house, a spoon, a knife, a bowl, Isabel's suspicion begins to spiral. In the sweltering peak of summer, Isabel's paranoia gives way to infatuation, leading to a discovery that unravels all Isabel has ever known. The war might not well be and truly over after all, and neither Eva nor the house in which they live are what they seem. Mysterious, sophisticated, sensual, and infused with intrigue, atmosphere, and sex, The Safekeep is a brave and thrilling debut about facing up to the truth of history and to one's own desires. I feel like I'm unloading some heavy synopses on you. Synopses? I think that's the plural for synopses. Synopses. But oh, man, this story was just juicy and delicious and a little bit twisty-turny. It took a few turns that I didn't expect as the reader, and I think I was kind of gripped from the beginning of this book. The juxtaposition of these 2 characters kind of really being like a yin and yang. You know, one is very orderly, type A, she's very put together, things are always in order, and the other one is the complete opposite, and they end up living in this house together. It just created this tension from the start of the book that I could not like get away from, but in a good way. Like I wanted to see what was going to happen. The development of these 2 characters was just beautiful. I loved watching them kind of break each other's walls down and develop this relationship that neither one of them really could see happening. Like they would not have guessed they would end up feeling the way they did about each other. That didn't come without consequences, and there was a lot of tension and a lot of things happening that kind of drove them apart as well. And it was so gripping that you couldn't stop reading it because you wanted to see what was going to happen. There was a lot of heartbreak and a lot of betrayed trust throughout the entire story from a few different characters. The family dynamic of it as well played a part in the story. And I think there was just things happening on so many different levels, but it never felt messy or hard to follow. And not to mention, this was very clearly based on post-World War II and how very specific groups of people were feeling at that time. Because of the political climate and because of the clear separation that was still happening from different religious beliefs. It almost had like this very heavy atmosphere behind it that just elevated the story to another level. And then to throw in so much kind of like mystery and like, sensuality and coming of age in a way of like kind of truly understanding what it is that you feel, what it is that you want, and what it is that you love. Oh, it was beautiful. Highly recommend, especially if you like any type of fiction that has like a basis of historical aspect to it. So it wasn't really like a historical fiction per se, but that was very clearly part of the storyline, and I really enjoyed it. So highly recommend. And I brought the month in for a landing with another 4.5-star read. Let me mention that right off the bat. Another 4.5-star read, and that was Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I can't tell you how long I have had this book, not just on my TBR, but on my bookshelf. It's called to me for a long time, but I was kind of waiting for the moment to read it, like when it was truly time for me to read this book. So this book, set in the 1950s, Paris of American expatriates, liaisons, and violence, a young man finds himself caught between desire and conventional morality. With a sharp, probing imagination, James Baldwin's now classic narrative delves into the mystery of loving and creates a moving, highly controversial story of death and passion that reveals the unspoken complexities of the human heart. This was very similar to the Safekeep, in the sense that it had a lot of tension throughout as well. We follow this main character who is living in Paris in the 1950s and kind of just like stumbles into this friendship at first with this man named Giovanni, and kind of slowly just starts to develop a relationship with him. Giovanni leads a very specific type of lifestyle that is not necessarily accepted, but also kind of just known amongst like a small group of their friends. And they kind of just fall into this relationship and living together as the story progresses. So our main character is technically in a relationship with a woman at the beginning of the story, but she has gone to Spain for kind of like a way to find herself and just break away from everything before she truly settles down in life. And in the meantime, our main character has been living this kind of wild lifestyle in Paris and almost falling into this weird, controlling, obsessive relationship with Giovanni. And the basis of it is happening in this like small, cramped room where they're living their lives. Like the room itself is kind of where so much of the story is building and building and building upon itself. And as it goes on, it's clear that Giovanni feels a very specific way, and he wants this relationship to kind of be official and like run away together. And that's not necessarily what David has in store for his life. So towards the end of the story, as it's clear that David is not going to want to stay and lead this life with Giovanni, the relationship falls to shambles. Giovanni himself just becomes a very hectic and chaotic person, more so than he was really throughout the entire story. And it kind of just leads to his own demise. It is very much based on sexuality and identity and finding yourself in the world, especially during a time period like this. This story has been considered a classic and kind of groundbreaking to be written when it was, because it is so kind of in your face about what it really is, and that is identity and the fight between what someone wants. A character who is actually stuck between the love of a man and the love of a woman, and what is it that he wants? Like, what is he going to choose? And that it's not always cut and dry. Things are not always that simple in life. This story is just kind of built on all of that tension, and it was almost hypnotic to read. It was another one that really sucked you in, and you just could feel things building and that it wasn't going to end well. And you needed to just keep reading to see if you were right, like to see if it was actually going to go the way you thought it was going to go. I can clearly see now why people love James Baldwin and his writing style. It was intense and emotional and almost had like this intimacy behind it that was very easy to read and easy to fall into. So I Absolutely loved this. So if this is something that has been on your TBR for a while and you haven't gotten to it yet, I can't recommend this one enough. I'm very excited to read more by James Baldwin personally, but this was definitely worth the read. I could see myself rereading this one. I think this is one that if you read it more than once, you would pick up on more each time you read it. So highly recommend. Well, there you have it, my friends. Those were all of the books that I read in the month of May, and it was a very good month as far as ratings went, at least. I actually thoroughly enjoyed every book that I read last month. A little bit of fantasy, kind of capped it off with some literary fiction, which I can feel myself leaning more towards. I don't know why that's such a summer thing for me. I just fall into fiction more in the summer. I can't explain that to you, but I try not to fight it. I really just try to go with the flow. As always, if you have read any of the books that I talked about in today's video, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on those books in a comment down below. And I would like to thank the partner of today's video one more time, Novelwicks Candles. Don't forget that you can use that code Lori10 to get a discount on anything for sale on her website. As always, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button because it always helps a girl out. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of my other upcoming videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too. As always, it has been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.